Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons podcast. Thanks to all of y'all who have come in nice and early on YouTube as we bring in our Facebook groups. It is a cold, windy, it's not dreary, it's sunny, but it feels dreary coming back from Germany. And another game where the Falcons did more than enough to win, more than enough to lose, too, and have lost their fourth straight game. I'm losing count at this point and have fallen to 3-6. More importantly, when you're evaluating the direction of a team, yes, losing 4 in a row is enough. In their last 17 games, which is the equivalent of a full season, the Falcons are now 5-12. 5-12. That's fireable. 5-12. Absolutely is. Will they get a chance? They've got the easy part of their schedule coming up now with, I think, the Panthers, the Saints. Don't look now. Falcons are just one game ahead of the New Orleans Saints, who are in full rebuild mode. Got a lottery ticket from Carr, $50 million. Meanwhile, the Falcons have $50 million sitting on their bench, and Kirk Cousins. Carr says, you know what? I don't feel good taking this money here. Why don't you keep your $50 million debt? I'll just retire. Oh, goodness. It's been tough. We're going to get into a lot of things here today. We're going to get into the good, bad, and the ugly. Yes, there was some good. We've got plenty of bad. We'll start with the good, and then we'll get into the ugly. And I want to have I go live. It's just going to be me today. It's going to be me and y'all. We'll get all this out together, and we'll have the conversation together on this. That's why we go live. So I want to say hello to some folks that have come in nice and early, like one of our dear members, Dantes Jackson. And so now's a good time to remind y'all to help support what we do here. If you like it, if you think we deserve the support, there's a link in the bio. In the bio, I'm used to seeing that on Instagram. There's a link in the description wherever you're watching this video of how you can become a member on YouTube. Helps us tremendously. So would love it if you could do that. Like Dantes has. He's got that bird in his chat because he is a dear member. Says, at least my Georgia Bulldogs won't let me down. That's changed, hasn't it? That's changed. Talk about a culture change. Thank you, Kirby Smart. How long has he been there now? I still think of him as like the new coach. Probably been there 15 years already. So I talk about a culture change there. In Rusty said, after drafting Penix, Raheem said we weren't going to be drafting that high for a long time. He was right. The Rams are. Yeah, 3-6. What does Tankathon say now? The Falcons had the Arthur Smith Memorial number 8 pick for a long time, and they're at number 10 right now. The Rams have the 10 pick in there. So, drafting Penix wasn't necessarily the wrong move. It was just the misallocation of resources. We've had this discussion a zillion times, Rusty. You know that. And it was, it wasn't just Raheem that said that. That was part of the whole narrative of, wait a minute, why'd you just draft a quarterback when you just gave $100 million guaranteed to a quarterback? Huh. Yeah, but we've beat that dead horse to death. If y'all want to talk about it, we'll talk about it in the comments after the fact. And here's part of the problem that Falcon fans are having right now, and I see this before. As much as I want Raheem, Rusty says, as much as I want Raheem gone, I can't even say I'm excited for a new coaching search because I'm pretty sure they'll just make the wrong decision again. Isn't that discouraging? I see that a lot. I really do. Like, what's the point of firing this guy when the same guys are going to be hiring again? Well, it doesn't mean you don't try. It doesn't mean you don't try and do it again. You might fail, but you at least need to try. And again, what happens? This Falcons team. Oh, I'm going to quote Terrence Moore back from the 90s when he called the Braves losers. I was pissed. I called into like 680 The Fan and raised hell with him. I've met Terrence since then. He wouldn't have known it was a 20-year-old me giving him hell on the radio. But they're not a bad team. They just took, the number 1 seed in the AFC to the wire, outplayed them in a lot of aspects. The week before, they played a game against the number 3 seed in the AFC and got themselves into position that the 44 teams before them have won, except the Falcons. The problem is these guys are losers. I hate to say it. That's the problem. Culture, mentality, losing. That's what it is right now. So, but it doesn't mean you don't change. Larry says, did you see Michael Penix tear up in the press conference. I didn't. I know he was pretty short with it. He's not playing very well. That's not all on him. I'll say that, but I'll say that again. I'm not ready to throw in the towel on Michael Penix. I am ready to throw in the towel on Zach Robinson. It is a lot easier to change a coach than it is to change a number 8 overall first-round pick, contractually speaking, and all of it. It's a lot easier to change the offensive coordinator than it is to change your starting quarterback long term. That said, y'all have heard me talk about this before. I'm a big soccer fan. They play a lot more games, so that's part of it. But they'll have a rotation. You got your basic starting 11. Why is it so taboo to just make a temporary change? Listen, you need a day off. You need a week off to get your head right. We're 3-6. Let's give Kirk Cousins a week. Then you're going to come right back. That is so taboo in the NFL, in football. It's, oh my God, he's benched. Oh my God, huge story. It's a rotate in some guys. Sometimes guys need to clear their heads a little bit, but man, you do that. Oh my God, what does this mean? Is this career over? So doesn't Michael Penix look like a guy that could use a week off to you? Right now, he does to me too. Maurice, dear member, and coming in with a super chat. Thank you so much. Says, I like this coaching staff. There's no way our special teams is this unprepared every game. It's unbelievable. I believe we lost mostly because of field position. There's a lot of it, Maurice, and we're sharing a brain again. I'm not sure if I put that in my ugly or if I put it in the. So I put it down towards the ugly. We'll skip down to one of the uglies in here. The Falcons had 7 kickoff returns. They averaged 22 yards per kickoff return. That's awful. 22 yards. Guess who's a free agent, by the way? I just looked him up. I was like, I wonder how Avery Williams is doing with the Eagles. I didn't realize he didn't make the Eagles. He was cut. He was with the Jets. He's cut again. Avery Williams is a free agent. I'd be on the phone. He's not good enough to make the Eagles or the Jets. Can't be any worse than Jamal Agnew, for God's sakes. I don't know that Avery ever really recovered from that knee injury he had because he was pretty special. Led the league in punt returns. His second year in the league, I believe. He's a free agent. See how he's feeling. Give him a physical, for goodness sakes. Nothing shocks me. Let's. It's hard to say you're shocked when you're talking about the Atlanta Falcons because of the illogical things they do all the time and the improbable ways they find ways to lose games. You shouldn't be shocked, but logically speaking, pretend I'm not talking about the Atlanta Falcons. If I was talking about any other team, I would be shocked that Marquise Williams still has a job. Marquise Williams was not hired originally by Raheem Morris. He was a holdover from the Arthur Smith staff. Special teams stunk in Raheem Morris's first year with the holdover coach. They still stink. What's going on? What is, who wasn't one of the coaches for the Falcons? Wasn't he like the nephew of the owner or something a long time ago? One of the special teams coaches? Is there a blood relationship in there that I don't know about? I can't believe I can. Most teams would have already made this change by now. Marquise Williams would have already been gone. Oh, I didn't finish this. Sorry about that. 7 kickoff returns for 22 average for Atlanta. That's awful. The 4 kickoff returns for the Indianapolis Colts, they averaged 34.8. So to your point, Maurice, that's 12.7 yards difference per kickoff return on 4 kickoff returns. 12.7 times 4 is 50 yards. 50 yards is field goal range. Twice, actually. You only need 20 yards to be in field goal range these days. Twice. And that's not even counting. The Colts had a couple called back on penalties. Maybe that's why they broke them long. Maybe not. The kickoff, Bradley Pinion had a good game until his last kick. He was pinning him in. I was trying to make some kind of pun. Pinning him in. And then he shanks his last one, right when they're trying to close out the game. The Colts are in field goal. You cross the 50, you're in field goal range now. You don't even have to cross the 50. You can be across the 40-yard line, your own 40 if you're down in Jacksonville. So yes, it is very surprising. It shouldn't be. It should be surprising to all of us. I don't get it. Austin, Georgia Bully Dog says Morris and even Zach should have been fired weeks ago. Better hear the news today. Both are gone. Don't count on it. Don't count on it. I mean, I don't expect any moves to be made until the season's over. And even then, you wonder. Like I said, I don't think there's any way Zach Robinson is here next year. But what are they going to do? You're going to hand the reins over to? There's no experience on this staff on the offensive side of the ball. None. Who do you hand it over to? And see y'all are so mad. We're getting to the ugly first. 8 for 40 on third downs the last 4 games. It's 33% for the year. Believe it or not, that's not the worst. The Falcons are actually 29th in third down at 33.6 for the year, but they're 1 for 18 in the last 2 games, including an offer yesterday. And Cash Bag Beast says Mooney looked off yesterday, and special teams did consistently a bad job. It was great to see the Falcons. Like, well, I'm glad you got a chance to do that. I did it. I'm sure it was a cool atmosphere. I went to a game in London when the Broncos played the Jaguars. And one of the cool things for me over there doing that was I started picking out jerseys. It was, like doing the license plate game as a kid on the highway before smartphones. Find how many license plates can you find from different states. Well, I found all 32 jerseys as I was walking around were represented at one point or another. All 32 teams were represented by fans who'd shown up from all over Europe to watch the game. So it's very cool that the European teams come over here, but they play scrimmages. They play friendlies. I'm not sure why the NFL, besides the fact that they don't actually play any of their players in preseason. Goodness. Bryce says, are there any big name players we could trade draft picks to build our wide receiver cornerbacks? Bryce is wrong. That feels like a newer name. Well, the trading deadline is over, so no. And you don't have many draft picks, so no. And you don't have much in the way of cap space, so no. This is your team, Falcons fans. The trade deadline was last week. This is your team. Austin Freeze. Defense was on the field the whole game. Special teams coverage is terrible. And the offense doesn't know how to convert third down. Fire Williams and Robinson. Yeah, I don't know why it'd be so hard to make a change at special teams coordinator for sure. Offensive coordinator, I don't know what you do. You give it to TJ. He's never called plays. He's never been an offensive coordinator. One of the big mistakes Raheem Morris has made in his second year tenure was the lack of experience on his staff. The experienced guys were the holdovers. Gray, Ledford, one on each side of the ball. I don't think either one of them have been coordinators in their lives. Who do you turn to when you've got your multi-billion dollar industry and you hand it over to guys their first time on the job? Wow, that's tough. Austin said, I'm seeing a lot of hate on Penix too. He ain't the problem. He has to deal with Zach and his offense. And a lack of receivers. Penix isn't playing well. That's what causes him not to play well is the discussion. And he can play better. He'll tell you he can play better. One of the third downs, it wasn't I don't think it was the fumble. I tried to take a screenshot of it, but I couldn't get it. But it was third down. They bring pressure from his left side. When the pressure gets to him, they have 4 men in a route. He steps up into the pocket. So this is time to drop. He's dropped back. He steps in the pocket. The pressure goes behind him the way Jake Matthews is supposed to do it. Push the guy out wide. So he steps up. By the time he steps up, there's 4 receivers in the route. All 4 receivers, all 4 of them have their back to him. All 4 of them, not even a crossing route, not even a shoulder. All 4 receivers have their back to him on third down on a blitz. That's poor design, poor recognition. Again, you can't say that Penix isn't to blame for that. He might be. You gotta see this. You gotta call it. You gotta check off into a hot route. We don't know that for sure. What I do know for sure is he's unprepared. He is unprepared. That's coaching too. He's unprepared to deal with that. And it shows. Third down, forget it. I mean, to be really, really snarky about this, the Falcons offense is amazing considering they're playing 2-down football. 1 for 18 in the last 2 games on third down. They're only playing first and second down. And they're still getting 300 something yards and 20 something points a game on 2-down football. That's incredible. That's amazing. Yeah, that's snark. 1 for 18. That's unheard of. That is unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. Coming in with another super chat. Real talk, gentlemen. He's one of our members too. Thank you, my friend. He says, and here's the problem. You said, I don't trust the front office to make the right hires to elevate this team this offseason. There's no killer instinct in this organization. Comfortable. It's comfortable. Way too comfortable. We don't want Bill Belichick here. Now, I'm not advocating. You guys, if this is your first time watching, I'm not advocating that Bill Belichick should have been hired. But when they start talking the reason that he wasn't hired is because they were afraid he was going to upset the culture, that pisses me off. Say he's past it. We don't think he'd be able to get the right guys to come with him. We don't think he's worth a damn without Tom Brady. Okay, all those things. But he'd upset the culture here. That's a positive. What with the rings too shiny on his fingers, all the winning that he's done, he might make some people uncomfortable in the building. Good. Makes me mad. Rio coming in with a super chat. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you checking on both sides. Long time OG here says, Nick and I been through some hard times together in the last 5 years. Between the two teams that we've covered here, we called it the side jar. Every time we talk about this and go, we'd have to put $1 in the side jar. So Rio put $10 in the side jar. We got 8 games left. Raheem is a coach for the rest of the year. I agree. Unless we lose one of the next 2 games. I still don't think that'd do it. Is it Panthers, Saints, and Jets? I think those are the 3. Didn't 2 of the 3 just win yesterday? Of course, one of them was playing each other, so one of them had to win. Didn't the Jets just get a win too? A sucky season going. We can finish 6-2, not holding my breath though. Yeah, the consistency there. We talk about it all the time. It's a 1-score league. That's the NFL. They love parity, 1-score league. So you win in the margins, special teams, third down conversions, turnovers. Well, the Falcons lose at least 2 of those 3. Clock management. They lose at least 3 of those 4 every week. That's the problem. How can you be consistent? How can you win consistently when you're losing in the fine margins every week, when you're outgunned in the fine margins every single week? What I say on kickoff returns, this isn't even punt returns, which the Colts had a big punt return also, was they lost 50 yards in field position net in punt returns. That's a drive. That's a score. You're already behind 1 score on special teams. So thank you, Rio. I appreciate the super chat. Become a member, brother. I appreciate the support. We need you. We need you out here. I want to get to some of the good, and then we'll get back into the bad, and we'll hit some of your comments and stuff too. But I do want to get into some of the good. I have to scroll back up a little bit. The good, Drake London. That one's easy. The first touchdown he had was a nice schemed up bunch route, where he goes into kind of a crowd and spins out, and a linebacker is in on him. That was a schemed up play in the red zone. That's nice. He should win that. Those are the kind of matchups you want to see. That's one of the reasons you move him into the slot. And to get him away from the cornerbacks, not that he can't beat the cornerbacks too. He had a good game against Sauce Gardner yesterday. Drake London is playing at a Pro Bowl level. And he was a little pissed yesterday. Someone asked him about, this, and this. He goes, I run the routes I'm told to run. Ooh, okay. He was pissed. He should be pissed. Drake London, definitely one of the goods. Billy Bowman, early on, you could see the difference in him and just the difference he makes in the run game, moving laterally on him. Now, he had his trouble with Tyler Warren. That's understandable. He's 5'10", 190 pounds. Tyler Warren is a monster. Tyler Warren is the go-to type of receiver you want and blocker and effort and all of it. He's an incredible football player. He's the kind of guy you want when you draft a tight end in the first round. Kyle Pitts has not been that guy. Here's one of the interesting things for me. The 7 sacks, and they came in big moments too. Couldn't finish though. You drop a guy to 3rd and 21 and then he scrambles for 16 to set up an easier fourth down, but 7 sacks. With the 7 sacks, there's 2 things here. Sack yardage goes against passing yardage in the NFL. It goes against rushing in college. With the 7 sacks, the Falcons held the Colts to under 200 yards not rushing, obviously. Passing, there's only one team that has broken 200 yards on them so far. They're still leading the league in yards. I know, but it is good. The 7 sacks is good. What's even better, they got 13 sacks in the last 2 games. They only had 18, I think, in 2021. 18 sacks. Yeah, it was 18. 18 sacks in 2021, because if they signed a double-digit pass rusher that got 10 sacks, they still would have finished last. That's how bad the pass rush has been for the Atlanta Falcons through the years. The low mark, though, was that 2021 team. 18 sacks. They have 13 in the last 2 games. And don't look now, but they're up to 4th. They are up to 4th. There's, I think, 4 teams tied for 4th in the NFL with 29 sacks through 9 games. So they've got a chance to put up some really big numbers here on that. Let me see here. Overall, the Atlanta Falcons held the Colts to 2 for 12 on 3rd downs. It was 1 for 11 in regulation. There was 1 3rd down conversion in that game in regulation. Falcons held them to what? 1 for 11? That's amazing. The Falcons defense didn't necessarily play poorly despite giving up 500 yards. They ran out of gas. I'll get to that too. I want to get to a couple super chats here that have come in since y'all are supporting the show. I want to make sure we get to you. Gear Trail 95, thank you. That feels like a newer name on the super chats. So thank you. Appreciate the support. Helps keep this forehead nice and shiny. It says clock management. Zach Robinson inconsistencies, run defense, special teams, O-line, all negative. Positive, sacks, secondary, Penix, and London. I wouldn't call Penix a positive in this game. I wouldn't say he was a positive. The sacks were good. The secondary had its problems. You know, the Pierce post touchdown, the Alec Pierce post touchdown, that was a mistake from your rookie safety. Hey, it happens. What did we say at the beginning of the season? You're going to give up a few more big plays if you're playing more aggressive. If you're working in your younger players, you're going to give up some more big plays. You're going to get more big plays out of it. I'm okay, fine. Those are growing pains. There was kind of a double post with Warren and Pierce, and he had inside help that he should have let Warren go, but he trailed Warren, and he ended up with 3 guys around Warren, and then he was late getting back to help D. Alford on Pierce. D. Alford was in coverage, but on that post, that's really a safety problem. Overall, though, Keith Taylor played okay. A.J. Terrell was amazing. They didn't even bother throwing the ball at A.J. Terrell. They're like, you know what? There's other holes out here. We'll go somewhere else. We've got weapons. We've got Alec Pierce. I don't have to. I saw Michael Pittman catch 2. I don't even think he was credited with 2. So I think one of them came back on a penalty. Michael Pittman was credited with two catches on 2 targets for 19 yards. Both times, I didn't see 24 getting up from him. Now, I will get down to the chat, and I'm sure people will say, what about that run from Jonathan Taylor? That's on him. That's on Walker. That's on Onyemata and Rook for not tackling. That was bad. He'll tell you it was bad. That was one play. It was an awful play. Overall, though, AJ played a good game. The O-line, the run blocking was okay. I mean, you got to figure, Gear Trail, if we're talking about the problems this offense is having, how'd you like to be an offensive lineman when the other team knows what you're doing also? That works if you've worn them down and I'm going to run. The Arthur Smith, F it, we're going to run it down your throat button. That works then. It doesn't work if you don't have any threat of pushing the ball downfield. The O-line played okay. I thought the O-line played okay. The sacks were great. And what's also very cool, Gear Trail, about the 7 sacks, 7 different players. So we talked about that at the beginning of the season also. Who's going to lead this team in sacks? I don't know. It might be 4 guys with between 6 and 8 sacks. But they're on pace for 50-something sacks right now. That'd be the most in a long time for this team. And it's coming from everywhere. 7 players had a sack. Definitely in the good. Let me get to are you a Sebastian 2323? Speaking of positives, Falcons fans showed up in Germany. Very cool. Not only were there lots of traveling fans, but I also met plenty of German Falcons fans. That's awesome. I'm glad you were there representing. And it's such a cool experience. If you have the means and the ability to travel, it's, to me, that's just the ultimate, to being able to go different places. I haven't been to Germany yet, but when you go to Europe, especially being from Atlanta, where the city was burned down 100 years ago and nothing here is very old. It's like I got married in a church that was 100 years old. It's like, wow, that's pretty amazing. The Log Cabin Church. That's where I got married in Smyrna, Vinings. Then you go over to Europe. It's like, yeah, this structure is 4,000 years old. It's very humbling. It's very cool. So I'm glad you got to go over there and had a great experience. If this team is certainly more entertaining, that was the only thing I promised at the beginning of the year. Maddeningly frustrating, but definitely more entertaining out there. So I'm glad you had a good time, and thank you for the support. And you're actually in. I just noticed the Euro symbol. So you're actually in Europe. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. Let us know where you're from. See where that comes up. Mike coming in. Mike, thanks for being a member also and double dipping with the super chat. Mike says, this team is good enough to win the next three. Absolutely. I have them 7 or 10 or 8 and 9. I don't know if Blank will fire him. He loves Raheem Morris. Cognitive dissonance may cloud Blank's decision making. I cut the line at 8. That was my over under. 9 and 8, they're safe. 7 and 10, I think they're in big trouble. 8 and 9 is a push for me. I don't know what's going to happen. 8 and 9 looks like a pipe dream right now, though. If they win the next 3 against teams that theoretically they should be favored for, but remember, they're 0-3 as favorites this year. The Falcons are 0-3 as favorites. They were favored against Tampa Bay by 1.5 points. They were favored against Carolina, and they were favored against Miami. 2 of those were 2 of the worst games we've seen in these parts in some time. So they're definitely capable. So what order does that go in? It's Panthers next week, and then at Saints, at Jets. We know what the weather can be like up in New York. I think the Jets are coming off a win. Am I mistaken on that? What did they just do? They're 2-7. They won 2 in a row. They've beaten the Bengals and the Browns. They've won 2 in a row. They're getting hot. Then they've got the at Patriots, at Ravens. So they might not be at so hot, but by the time you play them. But again, do you trust this team to be consistent enough to win 3 in a row? And even if they do win 3 in a row, I guess that does put them at 500. You're at 6-6 with 4 to play. It's just hard. It's hard to picture them being consistent enough to do that. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, make sure I'm not like muted or anything on this. I'm actually from Colombia. Okay, that's cool. My grandfather was German, and I've been living in Berlin for 7 years now. Very cool. So I went from being a Colombian Falcon to a German one. Well, that's awesome. There's a lot of Braves fans all over the country because they won and they had the Superstation. The Falcons, they don't have that. They don't have the history of, there's not a lot of bandwagon Falcons fans out there that have picked up from out of different places. People move to Atlanta. They don't necessarily move out of Atlanta as much. So very cool to get out there. Let's get to a little bit more of the good, and then I want to get to some more of your conversations. So some more of the good. I said third down. Red zone. This is one of the bigger problems for the red zone. Where are the Falcons this year on red zone conversions? On red zone conversions, after they're 3-3, they've moved up to 17th. So they are 15 of 16. Yeah, 15 of 16. They went 3 of 3 yesterday. So, I'm sorry, not 15 of 16. That's a 2, dummy. 15 of 26. So before yesterday, they were 12 divided by 23. So they were 52%, 52.2%, which would have been 24th. They moved up to 17th. That's what a good day at the office can do for you with a small sample size. So 3 for 3 in the red zone, ran the ball well. They were running the ball well, and they schemed up a good play for Drake. And even on the 2-point conversion, Sauce and press against Drake is a mismatch, in short yardage. Where Sauce in space, where he can read, that was a little bit more trouble. And there was a play where Sauce almost had an interception on that. The whole play pissed me off. It was a poor throw. It was 3rd and 8, and they throw a 5-yard out route. And Sauce Gardner jumps it because he's like, oh, I know it's coming to the wide side of the field. It wouldn't even been a first down if he catches it. I mean, Drake is capable of breaking a tackle, but I'm not counting on that when these guys are sitting on coverage. It's just what are y'all doing? It's no wonder you can't convert 3rd downs. You're running 5 yards out on 3rd and 5 with a man in your hip pocket, predictably. So I don't remember his name. I saw it on Instagram. I'll have to look him up and give him a shout out. He was doing a back and forth of the Falcons playbook, and he had his letter up in front of him. He's like, oh, this is their playbook. How many plays are on it? 4. And the guy, then he goes back over. He goes, let me guess, stretch right to Bijan. He's like, yep. Stretch left to Bijan. Yep. And an out route to Drake. He's like, man, it's like you're in my playbook. And I got a trick play on here. The screen to Kyle Pitts. That about sums it up, doesn't it? That about sums it up on that for sure. Chris, he says, Morris is great. Chris Walker on here. Morris is great at blowing smoke up Blank's tailpipe. I'm not falling for no banana in the tailpipe. Hope he doesn't fall for it again. He's just Dan Quinn 1.5. Big on motivation, poor on X's and O's, horrible time management, losing the locker room quicker than Quinn did. He needs to be fired. And again, there's some people will come in and, well, everybody else has gotten 3 years. Not everybody got 2 losing seasons, and the expectations were different. You can play the card if you want to. I think that's an excuse. Who's happy with how things are going right now? And more importantly, do you see it getting better? It's not getting better. It's not. Things aren't improving. If we started a Michael Penix timeline, the arrow's overall headed in the wrong direction. That's your future, right? That's got to change. Well, that's the offensive coordinator. Oh, man. And then he does well and he gets another job. Then you're starting over. It's pretty ugly right now. Yes. I want to call you Sebastian when I see that. Ozzy, starting field position is one of the biggest factors. If an offense scores, we'd be a winning team if special teams weren't so bad. That's a big part of it. It's a big part of it. When you're talking about the margins, the small margins on there, it's absolutely a big deal. Ozzy, I don't know if you came in earlier, but just in kick returns alone, I've got this down in the ugly, in the good, bad, and the ugly. The Colts had 12.7 yards per kickoff return more than the Falcons did on average, and they had 4 kick returns. That's 50 yards. You only need 25 yards offense to be in field goal range these days. In a tight game, in a one-score game, 50 yards of field position makes a huge difference. Absolutely, Ozzy. I'm with you 100%. Denver Luke, good to see you. Good morning. You've got that coffee emoji. I'll drink to that. I think I was about finished with some of the goods. I had Walker and Pierce combining for a sack fumble again. That's good. Talking about the 2 rookies and the future of playing more consistently on defense, where it's not always going to just be schemed. I mean, the best defense in the world is, last year, Vic Fangio, what a genius. Yeah, my 4 guys up front whip your 5 guys up front, and I can put 7 in coverage. Genius. That's the dream, is when you've got Walker and Pierce coming off the edge in passing situations, and you can send 4 and they can't block you. That's what you're looking for. Now, if I've got 7 in coverage, now I'm beating people consistently. Let's get to some of the bad, the drops, some of the bad. That Kyle Pitts drop on a first down play off play action in the first quarter. 2 plays later, I'm going to combine the bad of this into Zach Robinson's play calling / clock management, because I put it on X off my Falcons account, Falcons SI. And I'm not sure I was totally clear on this, because the play got in plenty of time on 3rd down after the Kyle Pitts drop. The play gets in plenty of time. But it took, and I timed it, it took 10 seconds for Michael Penix to then call the play. Now, if you've watched enough football, you'll notice the receivers take off early. So the protection and the calls for the offensive linemen is usually last. They take off early. Okay, I got my route. I know what to do. I'm out. And then, you finish up and then the lineman will break last. It took them 10 seconds to do that. So now the clock's down to they break the huddle at 13 seconds. And everybody's kind of looking around. Eli Wilkinson's pointing to a free rusher. Tyler Algier does end up picking up the guy that comes inside, but the guy that I think was Cam Bynum coming off of Eli's right side comes free, and nobody knows what the hell they're doing. So the whole idea of why does it take 10 seconds to call a play? Does Penix not understand it? Is the play way too long? How can it be too long? You only seem to run 5 plays. The offensive line, you got some new offensive line in there. They don't necessarily know the blocking schemes 100%. It's taken me 10 seconds to call a play with 11 guys out there. I promise you, not all 11 knows what the hell they're doing. And then you want to be a team that has a lot of pre-snap motion. How can I do that when I'm getting to the line with 10 seconds left? I'm taking away a big part of my whole offense if I'm getting to the line. Why is it taking so damn long to call a play? It was taking forever to get a play in. Now it's taking so long to call the play. That's bad. You could call that ugly too. The Darnell Mooney drop, he should have caught it. It was tipped. You could see it come off the train's trajectory a little bit, but it was tipped early, and it still had enough velocity to get to him that he should have been able to make an adjustment. He had a poor game. You could see he was getting frustrated. It wasn't all on him. Penix was missing him in some open spots too. But the drops certainly didn't help the 12 for 28 passing they had on there. And last week I said it was like playing with 9 guys with Mooney and David Sills out there. It was like playing with 9 because they weren't offering you anything. Charlie Warner had as many yards as David Sills and Darnell Mooney, I think, with 15 yards on 1 target. So Darnell Mooney, and this isn't even counting. He did draw 2 penalties, but those were in one of them was questionable anyway. On actual targets, he was 1 for 8. He had 2 more targets that he drew penalties on, so they threw it at him 10 times. He had 1 catch. David Sills, it says 1 target, but I feel like there was another one out there. And why does it always seem to be on 3rd and long with the clock running down and at the end of the game? That's when David Sills is most open. So you're talking about 1 for 9 for 17 yards with your wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 out there. David Sills getting more chaps than Charlie Warner. Make it make sense to me, because it doesn't. That's bad. It's really bad. I already mentioned the 3rd and 9 with 9 minutes left in the second. I should have gotten a screenshot for y'all and just brought it up. That's what it was. I was like, why did this really catch my attention? Because it was coming out of a timeout. They had to call a timeout. They go back into a time. They come out of a timeout, and they're still running out of time. It's 3rd and 9. The ball snapped to Penix's hip at 3 seconds left on the clock, and he ends up taking a sack. They showed the rear view of it, and as the pressure gets past him, all 4 routes, you're looking at the back of their jerseys. Why? Where's your hot route? Where's your drag route? Where's anything to help with your blitz? You can't do that against a blitz. I've said before, Penix is pretty good when the pressure is situation. 4th quarter, down a score with 2 minutes left, he's usually pretty good. But under pressure, when there are guys coming at him, he's been dreadful. Well, that's part of it. That's part of the 1 for 19 in the last 2 games on 3rd down conversions. How's he supposed to convert a 3rd down when he's got a free rusher and 4 guys out with their backs to him? I'll give you a hint. You can't. You cannot. You cannot convert that on 3rd down. Cannot. 1 for 19. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. 1 for 19 in 2 games on 3rd down. You cannot convert a 3rd down like that. Whose call is that? Like I said, is Penix not making the right check at the line of scrimmage? Are the receivers not making the right check at the receivers should be able to recognize blitz too. Hey, he's coming. I can make eye contact. I'm going to fill his gap. I'm going to break this off. I'm going to come in right behind where he's blitzing, run a little drag route. There's going to be a ton of space. Unprepared. I think that's going to be my keyword for the day. They are unprepared to play 3rd down football. Unprepared. Sidejar. The Colts' second touchdown took 2 plays, if you remember right. They came out in a 2-4-5. I hate the 2-4-5. They come out in a 2-4-5, and Woods was a linebacker. He did okay. He came up in the middle, but there's a ton of open space there because there's only 2 defensive linemen. Taylor gets a big play, 18 yards. They switch it right out. They switch right out of that. Go back to a 3-4. We need to get bigger in there. Go back to a 3-4. But then that was the play where Watts bit on Warren coming in underneath him when he should have turned it back over. I think Caden was dropping back in coverage, and I know Jesse was right there. He should have let him go and gotten Pierce. Instead, he was turned around and late. So 2 plays, and part of it starts with the big play from Taylor. With the big play from Taylor on there where you're not set up to defend the run with 2 down linemen. Now, more bad on that. I tell you when I get really mad is premeditated decisions that seem pretty obvious on this. This is when I really get fired up. Taquan Graham was cut last week. LaCale London was inactive. Why? This is one of the best, if not the best rushing team you're going to face. He wasn't listed with any kind of injury designation. So was he a healthy scratch? LaCale London's your biggest people-eating defender in the middle of the defense. Now, Sam Roberts gets hurt in the first series. He only played 4 snaps, I think. I'm down 3 defensive linemen. You want to know why the Falcons gave up 300 yards rushing? They're down 3 defensive linemen. They're down 3. One of the strengths of this team, I fully believe, is their depth at defense in their front 3 when they run them out there. Now they only had 4. They only had 4 players for those 3 spots in this game. And you want to know why? They had Jonathan Taylor had 70 yards after 40 minutes. After 40 minutes, Jonathan Taylor had 70 yards. He had 160 yards in the next 20 plus 1 drive. He had 160 yards in that. Why? Hell, I didn't have any defensive linemen. Let's look at the snap counts. Rook. Here, I'll just bring these back up here. Snap counts. Rook played. Where's the defensive line? Rook played 62 snaps in the interior line. That's 81%. And he was one of the nose guards at times. He's not big enough to be a nose guard. He's a 3-tech 4-3 guy, or against a run, he's a pretty good 3-4 defensive end. 62 snaps for an interior lineman. There's might be 2 guys in the league. Max Crosby, who's an edge. Zach Allen with the Denver Broncos is about the only player in the NFL that does that. And they know they did that too much last year with him. He'd play 80% of the snaps, 90% of the snaps. It's unheard of. You do not do that. David Onyemata played 54 snaps. He should be in the 35 to 40 range at most. And then Zach Harrison, he played 47. And then Brandon Dorlus only played 28. That was it. That was your DL. You had a 4-man rotation. Those guys were done. Despite the fact that they were doing so well on 3rd down, your rotation was shot. Why? That's a self-inflicted wound. I'm going to cut Taquan, leave LaCale inactive against the Colts? Make it make sense to me, because it doesn't. That was bad. That was bad. Denver Luke, good morning. Ozzy coming back in. Somebody tell Zach that you call screens when it's not obvious and they should go to your fastest players, not Kyle Pitts. That, I don't know why I like to use basketball analogies. You know, get shooters warmed up, get them some easy shots to get them going. Who's your best guy at wide receiver and your best blockers out there? Get the ball to Mooney out there. If I need to get Mooney going, I think you do. You need to get Mooney going on this offense. And I've got twin towers in Pitts and Drake. Kyle's not a great blocking tight end, but as a wide receiver, he's pretty damn good. And Drake is a phenomenal blocker. If you're going to run him out there, run him to Darnell. Get him some easy catches. Get him going, because he's trying to make pretty much some tougher ones. So, Ozzy, I think it's a great call. I remember seeing it. I saw it one time. They ran a tight end screen. The Auburn Tigers and Terry Bowden. They had Robert Johnson, this massive tight end, and he catches a screen. They got these two tiny Terry Bowden receivers out there blocking for him. Like, what's wrong with this picture? Ozzie, same thing. You're right on it, man. I'm with you on that. You need to get Mooney going. Get him going. That's a fairly easy way. Get him some easy touches on that, and get your two big boys out there blocking for him. Matt says one positive. We saw less J.D. Bertrand. Yeah, J.D. didn't see as many snaps last week, so that's been marginalized. He had a total of 28 snaps. It was 36%, so he played almost the same amount. Josh Woods, he ended up getting 13, and then Ronnie Harrison. Ronnie, where are you at? Ronnie Harrison played 35 snaps. So they tried to play three different guys next to Caden Ellis. None of them were very good. JD had a really nice play on that fourth down. Good for him. Glad he did on that fourth down on the goal line. The Colts kind of looked like the Falcons in the first half, moving the ball up and down the field and coming away with no points. That felt awfully familiar. The Falcons defense was tightening up and doing a really good job. And the Falcons took a lead, 14-3. Bad. End of half clock management. Bad. We know it was at the end of the second quarter. There was 58 seconds left on the clock when Ellis sacks Jones. 58 seconds. It was 3rd and 11, and the Falcons did not use a timeout. Jones throws an interception on the next play, and there's that we go to halftime. All right. Well, you don't know he's going to throw an interception. Fine. Still 3rd and 11. I feel like I should have confidence in my team if I'm playing to win to get the stop. The Colts had the confidence that the Falcons were going to get a stop. That's why they let the clock run. Call it timeout. 56 seconds, you get a stop, and you get the ball back. You get 45 seconds to get a chance to go and put some points on the board before you get the ball back again in the third quarter. Well, Scott, what if they convert the third on the third down? If they wanted to go for it, they had all 3 timeouts. Your timeout was not going to be the difference in the Indianapolis Colts running out of time or not running out of time. It was on the Colts to decide if they wanted to go or not, and you helped them. They didn't. They didn't want to go. So you let them. All right, we'll just run the clock out. Why? The Colts didn't want to go up for it on 3rd and 11. They didn't. They wanted the clock to run out. You let them. Well, if they convert, then there's all this time. The time wasn't a factor for the Colts. They had all 3 timeouts. If they convert that on 3rd and 11, your timeout wasn't going to make a difference. Bad. Definitely bad on the clock management. Curtis, good to see you. He said Zach Robinson's scheme sucks. We shouldn't have any wide receiver corner routes on the same side of the field. Yeah. The double post was kind of cool that you saw them run the Colts run Alec Pierce, and you saw how it can work. You get a little confusion between the two safeties. The double corner, I can cover a double corner with one guy. I can cover one there. Again, and I get back to the 3rd down, coming out of a timeout, snapping the ball with the clock going down to 0, coming out of a timeout because you could get the play in on 3rd down. It's 3rd and 8. A free rusher comes. You freeze it, and Michael Penix is looking at the back of all 4 of his receivers. That's just it's you get well, you know what it is. It's 1 for 19 on 3rd downs. It's exactly what it is. How is this happening? That's how. No 3rd and shorts either, where you're running for first downs on 3rd and 1. I mean, it's almost statistically impossible to be 1 for 19. It's almost impossible. It's unbelievable. It really is. Curtis, thanks for coming in. 30 Bird Star says, a bit off topic, but why is Troy Anderson still on PUP? Could be a solid depth piece, despite being a glass cannon. You just answered your own question. He was projected to be back weeks ago. No, he wasn't. He was eligible to come back weeks ago. You know who else was? Storm Norton. Storm Norton was eligible to come back weeks ago. They have to make a decision on him. Said he had a setback. He'll probably be IR'd for the rest of the season on Wednesday. Troy Anderson, And that's pretty harsh for a guy who was day-to-day in the summertime for Storm Norton, wasn't? He's going to end up missing at least 10 weeks. I was having this conversation yesterday. What's the difference? Sean Payton is an a-hole with the Denver Broncos, and you ask him a question about injuries, he'll flat out tell you, don't ask me about injuries. Just don't. I've already told you that. I'm not going to tell you anything. Raheem Morris puts this megawatt smile on his face, and he won't tell you anything either if he's not just lying right through his teeth. Isn't that the same thing? Aren't those kind of the same guys? But Raheem does it with a big smile on his face, so he's the nice guy while he's either not telling you anything or lying through his teeth. And Sean Payton's actually being honest. I'm not telling you anything. Don't ask me that. What a stupid question. Yeah, he's a jerk, but he's upfront about it. Storm Norton was day-to-day in the summertime. It's November, and he's about to be IR'd for the rest of the season on Wednesday. Troy Anderson, we're not seeing him again. It feels like one of the few straight-ish answers that Raheem Morris will give you. No update on him. Just flat end of. We got no update on Troy Anderson. Don't know. Nothing. Where the other guys, they're getting close. We're working on it, see what they got, blah, blah, blah. So that's with Troy. Troy was eligible after 4 games. We haven't seen him in 13 months. So don't expect a whole lot from Troy Anderson. I don't. A healthy Troy Anderson. I think I asked you all this before, and someone said he's a beast. I'm like, Troy Anderson has to be a monster in Madden where he's not getting hurt all the time because physically speaking, he's arguably the most athletic guy on the team from a height, weight, speed, explosive ratio. He was a 10 on his relative athletic score. Nuked up dude, can't stay healthy though. Doesn't do you a whole lot of good. The ugly. We got to it. We've hit a lot of it on the way here. The effort and tackling and I go more effort. I started with tackling because, on Jonathan Taylor's 83-yard run, but really when he kicked it outside, Jalen Walker had already given up on the play. He kind of bounced around behind it. A.J. Terrell had already given up on the play. You know who didn't give up on the play? The Colts. Not the offensive lineman, not Tyler Warren, not Alec Pierce, who both got downfield and kept key blocks going, and obviously not Jonathan Taylor. Big moment in that game. 323 yards rushing. I hit on that a little bit. The snap counts. I feel like it's a premeditated decision when you're going down and limiting yourself and cutting into your depth on the defensive line. Why? You think Taquan Graham could have helped throw in 10 snaps? You think LaCale London could have helped 10, 15 snaps yesterday? Again, London may have been hurt, but he wasn't listed inactive with an injury designation. Why? He played really well last week. This team wants to run on you. I don't get it. That was ugly for me. Darnell Mooney, the whole day, ugly. 1 catch on 8 targets, really 10. Even though that one was tipped, he still should have caught it at the end of the game. 0 for 8 on 3rd downs. Ugly. Kick returns, kick coverage. We hit on that a little bit ugly. You lost 50 yards in field position just on their kick returns based on yours. What is Jamal Agnew doing out there? The good news is Jamal Agnew didn't cost a whole lot of money. The bad news is you got what you paid for. He's been a complete and total bust. Bust of a signing. Avery Williams, I don't know if he's got anything left in the tank, but he's a free agent. He was a good Falcon for a couple of years before he hurt his knee. Give him a call. Bring him in and have him work out. Ugly. Marquise Williams, Zach Robinson, Raheem Morris. Ugly. I got the transcripts. I did a Control F. Control Fine on the transcripts. Raheem Morris opened with a statement, and then he was asked 11 questions. None of them were, why didn't you take a timeout at the end of the second quarter? Where was LaCale London in this game? Those weren't any of the questions. And I'm not blaming anybody there. If you were able to make it there, like D-Led, and I think Josh Kendall was there. Josh usually asks the tough questions. If you were able to make it there, good for you. That was quite an expense for that. I couldn't afford to do it. But I would have liked to have had those 2 questions. Where were those guys? But in those 11 questions and an opening statement for 12 things, he either said, figure it out or find a way 11 times. It's and I didn't do a control search on obviously. That was probably 20. Obviously, figure it out. We got to find a way. It was ugly. All right. Those were the good, bad, and the ugly. So we're gonna wrap it up here. I want to get down to some of your comments. The good, Zane Gonzalez had a good day. Looked very calm. Kicked the ball through. Very good. So yeah, Zane had a good day. Scott, goodbye, Germany. Yeah, right. I've got some German heritage. I used to think of myself as German until I had a kid named Sean McAllister Kennedy. He was born with a 4-leaf clover on his butt. I'm pretty damn Irish. The punt and kick coverage, just awful. It's just bad. So bad. Do you think the Falcons lose on Sunday against the Panthers 30-0 again? Will blank finally fire Morrison Robinson? I don't know, man. I really don't. I really don't. And as far as penalties go, Dirty Bird Star, they've been pretty good with the penalties all season. Where are they on that? Penalties, NFL penalties year 25. There's actually NFLpenalties.com is actually a thing. Plays against count. They're third fewest in 9 games. Now, not everybody's played just 9 games, but the Falcons are the third fewest with 49 penalties. And yards against, they're third fewest in yards against and penalties. So they're doing that well. That helps. That's been good. The ugly John, he says the organization as a whole, and Dirty Bird started talking about Troy Anderson. It makes me sad. I was excited to see him back. Yeah, the Falcons I talked about this about safety and linebacker in the offseason, and edge, counting on Braylon Trice. There were 3 guys. There was Troy Anderson, it was DeMarco Helms, and it was Braylon Trice. I'm like, whatever you get out of those guys is gravy, but you can't count on any of them. And the Falcons didn't. They treated Terry Fontenot, went out and got Divine Diablo. He went out and got 2 safeties. He got Jordan Fuller I saw someone ragging on Jordan Fuller. Jordan Fuller has like $50,000 of guaranteed money. You know, the guy wasn't signed to be the next Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates makes more in a game than Jordan will make all season. And they got Xavier Watts. And on the edge, they went and got 2 first-round guys, and then they replaced Lorenzo Carter with Leonard Floyd. So they weren't counting on them either, to that effect. Raymond says he's sitting here explaining how these coaches hasn't prepared this kid. Yeah, that's again, quarterback play. Here's a word we like to use in Flowery Branch: collaborative, right? Hey, when did you decide to call a timeout? Well, we had a meeting on it, and the collaborative decided that we didn't need to call a timeout. Oh my God. Now, it wasn't quite like that, but it's not that far off whenever you ask decisions from this staff. But I consider quarterback play a collaboration. I don't consider it just Penix. I don't consider it just play calling. I don't consider it just Zach Robinson, just offensive line, just Darnell Mooney dropping a ball he should have caught. Quarterback play is a collaboration, coaching included. Michael Penix isn't playing well. That is a collaboration. And unprepared, I think if we take away anything from today, that is the feeling I get watching the Atlanta Falcons on 3rd down. Unprepared, let alone clock management, special teams, et cetera, et cetera. 3rd down, 1 for 19 in 2 games, unprepared. That's what I get out of that. Oh, goodness. Yeah, and Jamal says if the offense was designed better, he wouldn't have to create so much out of structure for us to succeed. But that's the problem. We see it. We golf every week. Yeah, if I hit the fairways, I don't have to hit those crazy shots. And Jamal, the Penix isn't a great out of structure quarterback right now. If he's not hitting his first or second read, he's in trouble. He doesn't run a ton, and he's not being put in motion very much. There's no waggles, bootlegs. Matt Ryan would run a naked bootleg all the time. So we're not seeing any of that stuff. We're not seeing any of those. So I'm about to get out of here. I do want to say thank you, and I'll follow up with my stars guys on Facebook. So keep an eye on your notifications. I want to go through back those and make sure that y'all get y'all's love. Just another shout out to our members. Become a member. It's in the description. We need you over there on YouTube. It certainly helps keep the lights on and keeps my forehead nice and shiny. Want to say thank you to Larry, to Maurice, Real Talk, Rio, Gear Trail, SEB 2323, coming in from across the pond. Thank you so much, Mike, for being a member and the super chat as well. Ozzy a couple times, our friend Denver Luke. Matt, good to see you as well. Curtis Case, love you, dude. Dirty Bird Star a couple times as well. Let me do one last through here. C. Doug says the mistake this organization made was thinking that they were a quarterback away. Yeah, I agree. You know, they should have gone with a young quarterback and put $100 million into the team for sure. Let's see. Who's this that needs to be banned here? Is this Mitchell? Probably needs to be banned. Yeah, I think so. You're not being very nice. We'll go timeout, Mitchell, just for now. And if I see the BS again, then we'll say see you later for next time. And Brian says, if you're really paying attention, none of this should be prized by any of this. Brian, I said that earlier. It's like there's some things, they do some things that are just shocking, the Falcons. But why? Why should we be shocked? They do. I called them the Atlanta exceptions last week. The exceptions to the rule. 44 teams have won. They've won 44 straight games until, oh goodness. Any team that's held another team 1 for 11 in third downs is 52-0 until, yeah, I got it. It is short for Sebastian. Okay, good job. Game over. Move on to the next, Kenneth. Yeah, we will. But, you know, we're here to talk. We're here to get it out. There's a lot of frustrated people out there. My friends over at MHH, they're called the football priests. We'll clear your conscience and, you know, move on to the next game. Well, what went wrong with this one? Let's hit on that. Let's vent. Then we'll talk on Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit of Panthers, and we'll start talking about other things. We'll see if any moves. Scott, do you expect any moves? No, I don't. You know, Jake says these guys need new jobs. I'm with you on that one. Raheem's looked disheveled after the game. He's starting to get a little bit shorter with the media and stuff. I'm sure, you know, after games, he's much shorter answers, talks faster when he's uncomfortable. He'll have when he gets back, he'll have the big smile back and be super friendly and not tell us anything tomorrow when they get back from Europe. So we're going to get out of here. Again, thank you to all my Super Chat superstars. Please become a member. It helps us out a ton. On that note, enjoy. Stay warm today, y'all. It is Chicago-esque out there in the low 30s and 20-mile-an-hour winds. Wherever you might be, it's cold. So stay warm out there, y'all. We will see you on Wednesday. Hit me up in the comments if you've got anything I need to clarify or be corrected on. And any discussions. I appreciate different points of view. I'm not always 100% sure on things that I make a decision on. I like this guy too, but I went here, but I can make an argument for this. I love those discussions. So we're out of here. Michael, Island Mike, good to see you coming in just as we're getting out of here. Hope you're doing well. Y'all have a great rest of your Monday. We will see you on Wednesday. Thanks for being here, everybody.